Hi friends, welcome back. So we've got to do a follow-up on the YouTube channel ticker symbol U. His name is Alex Divinsky. He recently released an apology video, and essentially, if you don't know the drama, he was paid $47,000 to pump a penny stock for one video. Again, $47,000 for one video.
From hours of extra upfront meetings to the final upload. And because dedicated videos usually have tight deadlines around conferences or press releases, they always stop me from running the rest of my business. Not to mention that $50,000 is gross revenue, not net.
It's quite a bit of money, and this stock, penny stock, was out of Canada. I want to go through some of the details of this stuff and sort of how his apology is misleading, because I know a lot of people will fall for it, but this is an important video to watch, especially if you're, watch YouTube content for finance stuff and kind of be able to spot the scams and misleading things. First, I want to point this out. For people who watch Alex, you'll probably know this kind of show or game, I should say, Baldur's Gate. This is a very, very popular game. It sells for $69.99. Now, the question I pose to you is, for something like Baldur's Gate, would it be worth it to spend, say, 10 times this, say $700 to play Baldur's Gate? Would that be worth it? That's a simple question. And obviously, the simple answer would be no, it would not be worth it. I'm bringing this up because essentially the basic idea is that you can like something, you can like a technology, you can like a game, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you want to overpay for it. And that's the same way with stocks, right? So you may love whatever companies or whatever, anything like that, but it doesn't mean you want to overpay for said thing. So if you want to get into what Alex has done, he was started his channel with all the hype stocks of ARK Invest and that kind of stuff, right? And this is the same sort of thing. So you may love your Teslas, you may love your Nvidias, Palantras, etc., but it doesn't necessarily mean that you want to overpay for said stocks, right? Same way you don't want to overpay for Baldur's Gate. Now, the thing is, though, is that what's interesting about Alex is when he sort of built his defense for the Poet technology thing, and this is the one of the companies he was pumping here. It says ticker symbol media, so that's Alex Divinsky, is a paid advertiser and subcontractor through LFG Equities Corp. Now, I've covered this before. I just want to do it again so it's really, really clear. This is when the transactions were made. You can see here it's April 18th, 2024, June 20th, 2024, September 16th, 2024. And the money we're talking about here is like 25,000, 11,000, 50,000. Now, Alex did not get all of this money from Poet. Some went to other influencers. Some went to the LFG because they take a cut. And I want to show specifically, though, how the stock reacts. So these are the dates. I just told you the dates, but basically every time there's a transaction, you can see the stock gets pumped up. So that's April 18th, stock gets pumped up. That's June 27th, stock gets pumped up. And then you have on September 20th, the stock gets pumps up. And if you actually look at the dates of the contract when these compensations were made, you can see an exact correlation to when the stock pumps up, right? This is LFG Equities. You can go over to their website. What's interesting about these kind of companies, if you want to call it that, who knows what this thing is, they're faceless. There's no names on here, anything like this. It's out of Canada. You can see it has to do with, newsletters, SMN lists, influencers, chat groups, etc. They basically pump up stocks. And one of the things that I can share with you, this is like Sanu Gold, Engage, LFG Equities, right? So it's basically, again, these type of penny stocks out of Canada. This is the performance of said stock, right? You guys can see it for yourself. Like it just goes down. it's a penny stock. That's what this kind of stuff does. Oftentimes these are scams. This is Canadian North Resources Inc. Again, they hired LFG Corporation. It's right here. And you can take a look at this one. It's the same kind of thing. It's a penny stock. It goes down in price. And you got to be careful with these kind of companies, these penny stocks, these small companies out of Canada. They lose money every single year. And we're talking millions of dollars they lose every year. When you look at like Poet, this is Poet right here. You look at their max chart, the same kind of, thing. Right now it is true, guys. Poet is on an upswing due to the pumping of the social media people out there. It is only a $300 million, market cap, because people always say, oh, well, how could, an influencer influence a company that much? Guys, it's just not that much of a company in terms of market cap. And then sort of how the scam works is you pay these people to, promote your stock, and then you issue shares, you dump shares. So the example here, right here. It's like $15 million on September 24th. They essentially created a bunch of shares here. You guys can see this for yourself. I want to go over also to what this company is and their address. You guys can find this. They have Canada, North America, Singapore. But when you actually look at the addresses of these kind of things, and this is, just one example, there's plenty of examples like this if you want to look at this other, companies that LFG works with. But you can actually kind of just look at the address of where these places are, and you'll get a sense of like, who knows what this stuff is. And it's like in this kind of building, maybe, one little office in there. And then there's another address that they give the North American thing. It's like, I don't know, it's weird. It's like a shopping mall kind of thing. You guys can see it. I'll click on this here. It's like, what is this? So this is supposed to be their awesome, company that they're being promoted. And then there's the other address is in Singapore, and it shows you like a little building like right here, right? And then it's here, it says TVS Supply Chain Solutions. So who knows any of this stuff? It is what it is. That's the sort of how these things work. Oftentimes, again, these sort of scams are out of Canada, and then money may or may not be funneled through various countries. And I can't follow the money and all that stuff. I don't have the resources to do said things. Now, regarding Alex's particular apology video, there's a couple things that you got to sort of pick out. One, which is very interesting, Alex says, hey, when I did this thing with Poet, they only changed a few things of my script, and he also talked about how all his videos are scripted. But I want to mention that even though they only changed a few words in the script, it looks like, from according to Alex, that he had a bunch of meetings with the company, and basically they play a hand in the script creation. They send him press releases of things he needs to cover. So even though maybe the final edit of the script, they only changed a few words, they were involved with the creation of the script. That's what it looks like to me from what he said.
Sponsors like this, so let me show you how all this stuff works behind the scenes. I'll go slow so you can get the gist. This document is the notes from all our meetings, covering the core technology, their customers, and their vendors. Here's another document that ended up guiding most of the video, which talks about their waveguides, the manufacturing process those waveguides enable, and their competitive advantages. Here's the press release they wanted me to mention, which also determined when the video could be released. I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement to read it before it got published, and since it wasn't public information, I couldn't buy the stock until the announcement went live and my video came out. Bummer. And here's the feedback that they gave me on my script. They asked me to use the words AI networks instead of data centers, since that's what was in the press release.
The other thing that Alex said, what I thought was interesting, he said, hey, I have a team, I think he said 4 other researchers or something like that. He talked about a couple of these people. I looked at what they're saying. Basically, he has a podcast with a couple dudes, and the dudes just pump up, Tesla, Palantir, or whatever, that kind of stuff, right? It's the same kind of stuff you'll see on the Farzad channels and that sort of thing. So just because you work with other people doesn't mean that other people are, awesome at stocks or awesome investing in these kind of things. It just means that you talk with other dudes that like to talk about hype. And it is what it is. If you want to talk about robotaxis or robots or whatever, you can find plenty of YouTube channels that do that, and Alex is one of them.
So there's always these things with Tesla. It's definitely not a smooth ride. It's not boring either.
Speaking of bumpy rides, Larry, why don't you walk us through what you're seeing with Tesla stock?
So I will say this. I agree with both of you. I agree that Tesla has a lot of potential exciting upside with energy storage, AI. And I also agree that this is an interesting time to look at accumulating the stock, but it goes, and I also agree that this is an interesting time to look at accumulating the stock, but it goes.
He tries to downplay the $50,000 as being a lot of money. He's like, oh, I got $50,000 for the video, but I have to split this money with other people and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like,
from hours of extra upfront meetings to the final upload. And because dedicated videos usually have tight deadlines around conferences or press releases, they always stop me from running the rest of my business. Not to mention that $50,000 is gross revenue, not net.
Come on, dude. $50,000 for one video, that's more than a lot of people make in a year you get for one video. And to sort of really downplay that is frankly disingenuous. So that's my opinion on that.
Now that you understand how a video gets from my script to your screen, let's talk about how it makes money. Most people assume that the biggest chunk of a channel's revenue actually comes from ads, but ad revenue has 2 major problems when you're trying to run a business. First, YouTube takes a 45% cut of all ad revenue right off the top. Ticker symbol U has made $424,518 in ad revenue over our 4 years on YouTube. That works out to about $8,800 a month before taxes and after YouTube's 45% cut. The remaining 55% is very volatile and unpredictable.
He also sort of downplays his YouTube income, which I actually thought was pretty interesting. It was like at the last 4 years, I think this is his 4-year anniversary is what he says. And he says on YouTube revenue, he's made about $400,000, which is about $100,000 a year, which is pretty good. If I could say, hey guys, if you could make a YouTube channel and you can make 6 figures on YouTube revenue alone, would you do it, right? And most people say, hey, absolutely, I'd do it, right? And the other issue as well is like he doesn't disclose how many sponsors and how much money he gets from sponsorships, because he kind of dances around that. From what I can tell, and this is what it sounds like to me, but I don't know. You'd have to ask Alex exactly. I think it's like 45% of his money is from YouTube, and then 55% money from sponsors. I'm just being really clear. I'm not quite sure, or is it 55% from YouTube and then 45% from sponsors? It seems something like that. He was throwing some numbers around pretty quickly, and I wasn't quite sure. But the point being though is like, I think $400,000 just from YouTube ads is quite a bit. And then when you are charging say 50 grand for a video, that kind of money can add up. Now, whether or not he's done a bunch of these 50 grand videos, I don't know. I have to go through all of Alex's channel to see like how much he gets paid. Now, I don't know, and he'll probably never disclose that kind of stuff. But I just want to point out that I think he actually has a pretty sizable income from YouTube. And I also understand that as well is that like, when someone like me points out, hey, you got paid, 50 grand, or was it 47 if you want to be exact, for a YouTube video, and the reason why this matters is that he disclosed it on the second video, but did not disclose the sponsorship on the first video, and that's why he's not in compliance. And so now he's like, oh, I got an ethics statement, and we're going forward, we're going to do better, etc. But you still can't really account for the fact that you pumped up a penny stock, and there's that. The issue as well, which I thought was very, very clever of Alex, again, Alex is very, very good at YouTube, is that throughout his video, he plays a lot of B-roll of Nvidia, which is very interesting. So the apology that he's making is regarding the pumping up the penny stock and getting $47,000 for one video, but he plays a ton of Nvidia B-roll.
From hours of extra upfront meetings to the final upload. And because dedicated videos usually have tight deadlines around conferences or press releases, they always stop me from running the rest of my business. Not to mention that $50,000 is gross revenue, not net.
Why would you do that? Well, you're trying to legitimize your channel, and you're trying to legitimize the penny stock, essentially saying, hey guys, look at, I pump up Nvidia all the time. Nvidia is awesome. Look how awesome it is. And so therefore taking $47,000 from a penny stock is okay. And then the other thing I thought was fairly fascinating, because he mentioned it before in comments, and I wasn't sure like exactly how it worked. But according to Alex, he's been sponsored by Nvidia. Essentially what they do, I guess they fly him out to conferences, and they pay for his hotel, lodging, and these kind of things.
How about when Nvidia flew me out to Silicon Valley to attend GTC in person?
I'm at Nvidia GTC, and I'm pretty sure that Jensen is Taylor Swift, but for dudes.
Watch Jensen's keynote presentation, interview Nvidia's executives, and talk about everything that I learned. Nvidia paid for my plane ticket, my hotel room, my transportation, and my press pass. That's a sponsorship. It's worth calling out that sponsorships like these don't influence what goes into our content.
And then I guess he goes around and then interviews Nvidia, employees, and then talks about their products, etc. This is always a very how can I say, touchy subject among YouTubers. It comes up in camera YouTubers, it comes up in tech YouTubers, etc. I made a video recently about Google recently had like a new phone come out, and they essentially made YouTubers say nice things about their phone or something like that. That was like in the contract. So, what's in the contracts that Alex has with Nvidia, I don't know. He didn't show that kind of stuff. But I'll just say that there's always a how can I say, conflict of interest with YouTubers that want to maintain a good relationship with companies and also want exclusive access. That's just how the game is played, be it for better or for worse. And so for some camera people, I'm not mentioning camera because I like cameras. For some camera people, they say, hey, when so-and-so company sends me a camera, I review the camera, these are my honest opinions. And you'll kind of know, if they're paid or not, if it's honest or not. If someone is, flying you out and paying for all your stuff to like cover them, at that point, in my opinion, you're an employee. So you guys can be the judge of that. If someone can remain neutral, if someone can, give criticism or whatever. But from what I can tell from Alex, and this is what he does on his channel, is he goes through company press releases and just basically repeats whatever company says. That is a very, very common tactic for multiple YouTube channels. So it's not just Alex, it's multiple YouTube channels. And one of the things that I like to do on my channel, and so hopefully that you appreciate that, guys, I just go through news every day. I go, what companies say, I do look at that. But I just give you an independent, honest opinion on this stuff. So for example, if Apple comes out with a new phone, I say, yeah, I don't know, I'm just not into it. I think it's a little bit too expensive or whatever. I don't just go over every feature and say how awesome everything is. I don't do that. And that I'm just giving Apple example, but that's for any number of companies, etc. And I also like to get your opinion on said things. The problem with YouTube is that for many people, they just want to sort of be led by cheerleaders. They want to justify their purchases on any number of things, and they want to hear this, positive stuff that they're going to be rich and technology is awesome, etc. Guys, I like technology. I think technology is fun to talk about. That's why I talk about it on the channel. But I talk about a lot of things on the channel. But I always want to be skeptical about said things and come in with an independent eye, not as a press release or a stock promoter or anything like that. It's a very, very different when someone is paying you $47,000 to make a video. Everything changes. And that's the Poet thing, or the Nvidia thing is when they fly you out and they give you a place to stay and then they have you interview all the employees. Like, it changes the relationship, opposed to you're unpaid, you go to a press conference and then you write independent stories. So that's sort of why you get different types of coverages on things depending on if there's conflicts of interest or not. I'll give you a simple example. It's kind of an interesting one. Recently, and I know when you bring this up, people get upset and they'll say blah, 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 but I'll just bring it up because I just saw it recently. CNN wanted to interview Melania Trump, so that would be Trump's wife, on her new book coming out. And she said that her office said that they wanted like $200,000 for the interview. It was something of that nature. And CNN has turned them down because I guess for that kind of stuff, they don't pay someone to come on their channel. Like whenever and that's just one example, but the point being is whenever there's money transactions to get access, it just changes the equation of everything. So in that situation, the news organization paying the person, or person paying news organization, because that happens too, guys, to where if you want coverage on your channel, you do product placements, you pay YouTubers, etc., to pay for coverage. So the point being is that when money changes hands, it changes the whole relationship. It changes one's opinion, or well, if you want to call it opinion, but it changes the communication medium and outlet and content. So I hope you guys understand the purpose of this video and sort of why we're going over these things. I always appreciate your time, and I catch you in the next video.